just to describe our financial position and what sort of happened, what I found when I came in. So I'll just draw like a line. So across the centre is 0, and this is the positive going up. So 10, 20, 30, 40, say 50. Then this is the negative, so a negative going down, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So when I came in, our debt was 71. So that's our debt. Where it will be at the 30th of June this financial year will be 58. So that is our debt. So 58, pretty good position going given what we've been through. When I came in, our reserves, so dealing with our reserves were not funded. So it was showed that we should have had about 60 odd million. So there was nothing. What we've had at the end of last financial year is 30 million. So we've restored those reserves. Reserves mean people have paid us money to do roadworks, to do water, to do sewage, to build those products. We're supposed to keep that money and use it when we do those services near those people. What we found was we came into a cash position and we said we had like 58 million when in actual reality we should have had 64 million because we were $8 million deficit from our cash. So our cash position was deficit. And that was due to the fact the flood damage money, we had flood damage money for 2011, I think it was, where it was forward paid. So it was forward paid for us and the works hadn't been done. And the problem we ran into, we were using that money to prop the business up instead of preserving the funding and then doing the works. So that was a real issue. We also had contracted, prior to me coming in as mayor, we had 5 projects, so 5 major projects, which were considerable funds. So a water treatment plant at Proserpine, a water treatment plant for Bowen at Proserpine, a sewage treatment plant at Cannonvale, a sewage treatment plant at Proserpine, and Airlie Main Street. Now, this was about 108 mil, and this, with council's actual involvement, was probably about 8 mil because it was an overspend. We were only supposed to pay 5. So we had all of these things happening, negative 8 million down here in cash, debt of 71, which means we couldn't borrow, projects to fund, which we had very little money. We ended up getting subsidy, I think, of about 16 mil. And the rest of this to create the Main Street was a $22 million project for Main Street, and the rest was funded by state and federal government. So that was a good thing. What we found also, we got hit with 2009 flood damage. That was considered that the council had, when they did those works, they paved roads that didn't need paving, they put curb and channel. We got investigated, and what happened was they, through negotiations, we tried to work with them, said we were broke, couldn't pay it. They got it down to $10 million, which was absolutely, insurmountable for us. They then came back and investigated our 2010. These 2 years projects were delivered under the former council. They then got another 10 million because they came and they looked at all of our invoices, they looked at everything we had, and had they gone through and looked at every single one and added it up, we probably would have had a lot more money there. So what we found was we've had a really, really difficult time because whilst all of this has been going on, we've been able to retain 350 staff. That's pretty good, because when we found ourselves in this difficult situation, I had to go to our bank, which is the Queensland Treasury Corporation. We had to get a $10 million emergent funding. Then we had to also get a 15 million overdraft. We found ourselves in such a difficult position that we needed this funding to keep the door open. We needed it to pay wages. What I then did was, with these projects, I sat down and renegotiated some of those. We extended the payments out, and I have to say the contractors that had been contracted back in December 2011 were wonderful to work with to achieve that. And it's credit to where we had gotten. With this 2011 flood program, we had submitted a really, really big program, and that's how we'd been doing it. What we were told was we had to pull it back. They would only ever pay what really, really got flood damaged. And in their view, that was like, if the flood came today, those things needed to be done immediately. They weren't things that you could do in 12 months' time, 2 years' time. So this 2011 program was brought back considerably, and with that then I gave a direction to the management staff that they couldn't do it a dollar over because we were just so broke with all of these things going on. But anyway, we renegotiated it down. We had a contract that was signed with a company to set up office and deliver. I negotiated with them to not keep us to that commitment, and I have to say they were very obliging. And with our meeting with QTC up here to get this, which is our bank, one of the things that they really wanted me to do, and it was really the most difficult time of my life, was to cut the staff. So what we did, we didn't cut the staff because that would mean we'd have all of those pay packets going out of the town, people and their families moving out of the town. It was already difficult times. What we did was we introduced the levy. Everyone got the levy, unfortunately, and it was $140 on every ratepayer. So that was year one. Year two, we reduced that levy to $100, and the levy was finished. Everyone paid because everyone saw roadworks, whether they got new curb and channel, whether they lived on a hill and got their road done. Everyone saw the benefit. We also had to take your discount, so you had a discount there on your rates when you paid them. And it used to be 10%. It went to 5%. But what the community didn't understand was, we understood that this was a difficult time for everyone, but particularly our pensioners. So with the pensioners, what we did was we doubled what the council would give them back. So they got the state remission. We gave them $200 instead of $100. Now, those pensioners, even though we've finished with these, they still get that additional. One of the other controversial things that we did was, because we had to move forward as a local government having everyone paying the same, because it should have happened when amalgamation was created, but it didn't. We had to also sewage. So in Collinsville, sewage was a third of what everyone else was paying. So what we did was, over the 3 years, we brought their sewage charges up to everyone, like the same as Cannonvale, Proserpine, Bowen. And that was difficult, but we did it over 3 years. And every sewage treatment plant has the same chemicals, the operational costs, the maintenance, all of these things. So it was something that we felt was very necessary. What we also did was, both former shires were using different water. So we had, with Sunday was 2-part tariff, and Bowen was allocation. What we did is, because our businesses joined, they became, under our local government, a significant business. So council had to commercialise it. Now, That's because the business is too big. We still own it, we still manage it, but it's costed separately. And in that is to recover user pays. What we've done is we've introduced throughout the whole of the region user pays. And that means that everyone pays an access charge, that's for your pipes and that, and then depending on how much water you consume is what you pay as excess water. And then your bill is what you get billed. So we felt as a local government that was looking after the pipes and the upgrades, but then for the little old lady living on a house on her own, she did not pay the same as a mum and a dad with 2 children, or even a mum and a dad that, you know, mum likes to have a bath every night and has a beautiful, beautiful garden. So the choice was at the individuals to make that choice as to how they use their water. When we structured the 2-part tariff, we looked at that it didn't really cost any more than what they were currently using on industry standards. However, this was sold dreadfully in the former Bowen area, and there was a lot of hype about the elderly couldn't water their plants, they couldn't flush their toilets, all of these dreadful things. But in reality, paying the access charge and paying the excess water, they would have been paying less than what they were paying per allocation. But the sad thing today is that one of the mayoral candidates is looking at taking it back to 2-part tariff and an allocation. Now, if you make one a part of the Shire region pay X, if you give the other an allocation, the question needs to be asked, is that allocation going to be equal to the actual usage costs? And if it is, there's no point going away from 2-part tariff. But if the former Whitsunday is going to subsidise the allocation, I think people need to be mindful of that, because within our region, it's difficult times, it's difficult for businesses, it's difficult for mums and dads, and I think everyone doesn't want to be paying for someone else's charges. So that's a question that's out there very much. It's a very topic of conversation. One of the other arguments that you'll see is that Bowen obviously has much less rainfall, but I think what council needs to do, and we have been working on it for some time, but we haven't got there, is recycling our water from the treatment plant and putting that back into our town parks and our entrance statements, and also looking at appropriate plants that actually deliver for that sort of climate. You know, we live in a really diverse region where we don't need to all have the same plantings, because we've got individual needs. We've got trees that are endemic to each of our little townships, and I think that that's where we need to look at. And obviously our islands are part of our bigger picture as well, because even though they basically run their own services, they use our landfills, they use water, different roads to get to and fro. So everyone, sadly, is involved where this very messy finance position is. But just to cap it off, and just to let people know too, valuations are something that council doesn't do. They're done by the Valuer General. But the way that council's rate is on that valuation. So what I'm proposing for this new rating season is that we get a review of our rating and water charges, and just look at those to see, you know, are we doing it the best way possible? Are there other local governments that are meeting their community's needs better and delivering better? And that way we can learn and improve the processes that we have.
Cool.
Very messy.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
You did really well. You just went off. You just went. That was great. That was perfect.
How messy is that? For experience, integrity and results, vote 1 Jenny Whitney.